Hi friends, this is Joshua Maria Garcia, and welcome back to Summer Hebrew, or whatever season you're in when you're watching this. This is Lesson 2. Here's all the letters we'll know by the end of Lesson 2. It may not seem like a lot of new consonants, but we're going to learn some new vowels as well. Let's review the letters, the consonants specifically that we know so far. Aleph, which is silent. Bet makes a B sound. Bet without a dagesh, which we also call vet, makes a V sound. Gimel, G. Dalet, D. Hey, H, silent at the end of a word. Nun, N. Nun sofit, also N. Here's the vowels we know so far. Tseire makes an A sound. Notice how the name of the vowel has the vowel sound in it. Tseire. Patach, A. Shva. We think of it as making an sound. It's a semi-vowel. This aleph is read because you can't pronounce an aleph with a shva. Kamatz, A. Chataf patach, A. Segol, Segol, Here's some words you might remember from last time. Av, father. Ben, son. Ahava, final stress. Ahava, love. Hein, behold. Na, please. Beged, initial stress with these nouns with segol. Beged, article of clothing. Even, stone. Negev, that's the southern desert in Israel. Neged, across from, against, corresponding to. Here's our first new consonant today, Vav. Vav is a very important and interesting letter, and it's going to be completely within the lines of writing. So the bottom line, if you're writing in a notebook, it will just touch the bottom line and the top line of the margin. It's not going to go below. It's hard to tell when it's by itself, but you'll see what I mean in a second. See, the vowels just go right beneath Vav, the vowels underneath the line of writing. Let's practice Vav with that V sound with all of our vowels so far. Va, 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 Ve, Ve, V. You can see how the shapes of the vowels are really starting to organize the vowels for us into categories. Let's put Vav at the beginning of some words as a prefix. Ve'av, ve'av, and a father. Ve means and. In fact, Vav at the beginning of a word is typically going to mean and, regardless of how we're pronouncing it. Ve'ahava, ve'ahava, and love. Now, I said before, regardless of how we're pronouncing it, there are different ways to pronounce Vav. Vav can just be Vav. It can also be Cholem Vav or Shuruk. Cholem Vav has a Cholem on top of it, and as you might be able to hear, Cholem is a vowel sound, O, and when the Cholem appears on top of the Vav makes an O sound. No V, it's not Vo, it's just O. Shuruk is Vav with this little dot in the middle. And this makes an U sound. Not Vu, but just U. V, O, U. The trick I give to students is that Vav usually makes a V sound unless you hit it on the head with a rock and then it makes an O sound. And if you hit it in the belly with the rock, it makes an oo sound. And so you can make a fist and pretend it's a rock and tap yourself on the head and say O, and tap yourself on the belly and say oo. And this physical motion will actually help you remember the different sounds of vav. V, tap on the head, O, tap in the belly, oo. Those are the sounds of vav. Let's read some words with cholem vav and shuruk. Adon, a, d, o, n. Nun sofit, letting her foot drop below the line of writing. Adon means Lord, and this can mean Lord in the sense of God, and it can also mean Lord in the sense of a really important, probably rich person. How about this word? O. O. We only hear that vowel sound, right? Because cholem vav just makes an O sound, and aleph is silent. O means or, either or. Who. Who. We do have a silent aleph at the end of the word here. Who. Who means he, as in he is my friend. Who. Uvein. Uvein. And a son. And, that's the vav as and, with a different vowel than we're used to. U. And vein, which means son. Now, you might be thinking, Joshua, bain means son. Sometimes bet just loses her dagesh because it's not necessary for grammatical reasons. And this is an example. So bet has lost her dagesh and she becomes vet, uvein. That's why it's important to know that bet and vet are really the same letter because they can change into each other in the same words. Let's learn another consonant, zayin. Zayin. You can kind of see a Z in this letter if you trace it out, if you squint. That's zayin. Let's practice zayin with all of our vowel sounds. Za, zay, za, z, ze, za. One more time. I want to get those vowel sounds really into our minds and say them with me. Za, zay, za, z, ze, za. I mixed them up, put them out of order. It will help you learn faster. Here's some words with zayin. Ze, silent hey at the end. Ze means this. Zahav. Zahav means gold. There's a famous song, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, Jerusalem of gold. Jerusalem is thought of as the golden city. Zahav is gold. Az. Az means so, as in the Israeli expression, az yalla bye. So let's go. See you later. Now be careful. These letters start to look alike if we don't put them next to each other and notice the differences. Remember that dalet has a dent right here, a dent. Dalet makes a duh sound. Vav is very narrow. In fact, in cursive, it's just drawn as a single line. So that's how we're going to know that this is a vav and not something else. And then zayin. Zayin has a serif, right? But we can also sort of draw a Z inside if we really squint. Can't do that with the other letters. Now we know that vav can make three different sounds. V, o, u. This is vav, cholem vav, and shuruk. Cholem vav can also just be cholem. And so the cholem can be put on a different letter, like this aleph. And so this makes an O sound. The aleph is silent, holding the space for the vowel. And so we just hear the vowel sound O, cholem. Here's some examples of two words we already know and one we don't. Adon. Adon has that full cholem vav. Adon means Lord. O. Full cholem vav. O. This means or. New word. Ozen. Listen. Ozen. Initial stress, not ozen. Ozen means ear. And here we just have the cholem, no vav. In Israeli Hebrew, you'll typically insert a vav when you're writing because it helps you to be able to read. Israeli Hebrew typically does not write down the classical vowels, but in biblical Hebrew, that vav will not be there to help you. So you'll just have the cholem for ozen. New consonant. This is chet. Now, some people will ask, can I just use a h sound or a k sound? Absolutely not. You must learn to make the ch sound because all of those sounds exist in Hebrew. So if you replace ch by cheating with k or h, you're going to say something you don't mean to. Let's practice our ch sound with the vowels we know so far. Cha, cha, cha. It's pretty far back in the mouth, at the back of the mouth, almost into the throat. Che, che, ch. Pretty hard to do, right? You're not going to see this a whole lot, even in biblical Hebrew, a chet with a shva. Here's some words with chet. Chein. Remember, Nun can drop her foot below the line of writing. Chein. Oh, sorry. Chein means grace. Grace. It's part of the name Chana or Hannah, which means grace. Chag. Chag means festival. It probably also in the Bible means a full moon festival specifically, and then started to be used just to mean any festival. It's also related to the Arabic word Hajj, which means the pilgrimage. Ach. Ach. Here we have chet at the end of a word. Ach means brother. Now, think about why I've made that letter red. It's to tell you something's different, and it's the stress. This word has initial stress, which we know from this segol right here. Zevach. Zevach. Not zevach. Zevach. And this means sacrifice, literally a slaughtered thing. Zevach. Now, of course, chet looks a lot like hey, but remember that hey has a hole. Chet does not. Hey has a hole. And it matters because you need to be able to tell the difference between chein, grace, and hein, behold. New consonant, tet. Tet is tucked in. It's the only letter that really does this. Tet is tucked in. Well, there'll be a letter later on that kind of does this, but it looks different enough. Let's practice tucked in tet with all of these vowel sounds. Ta, 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 te, te, t. One more time. Ta, 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 te, te, t. Try reading this word with tet. Tov. Tov means good. When God creates everything in Genesis 1, God sees that it is tov, good. How about this one? Chet. Now, the aleph is red because it is silent. Even though there's no vowel to carry us over into the aleph or for it to hold space for, it's still silent. Chet. Just don't pronounce the aleph. Chet means sin. We have good and sin. Also, chet literally means to miss. So if you're shooting a bow and arrow and you miss your target, that is chet, a miss. Let's review what we've learned in lesson 2. Here's all our vowels that we know now. A, that's tseire. A, that's chataf patach, sort of like patach. O, cholem, o. A, kamatz, a. A, patach, a. E, segol, Even the name of the vowel has initial stress, right? Segol, eh. And this is shva, and it's silent just like the vowel in the middle of shva. Here's some words we know so far. Ze, this. Zahav, gold. Az, so. Ozen, ear, initial stress. Ozen. And notice what I've done here, probably out of habit and by mistake. I've added in a cholem vav. Mostly in the Bible, when you see this word, it will just be a cholem. Chen, grace. Chag, festival. Ach, brother. Zevach, sacrifice. Tov, good. Chet, sin. Bezeh, sneaking some new words in for you. Zeh is a word we know that means this. Bezeh means in or with this. Zahav is a word we know that means gold. Ha-zahav is the gold. Ha-zahav, the gold. Now, there is an extra little dot in here, an extra little dagesh. As we've learned before, we can have the dagesh for a grammatical reason. It does not necessarily change the sound of the letter. Some letters change with a dagesh, like bet, ba, negev. The bet at the beginning has a dagesh. The bet at the end doesn't. The bet at the beginning is pronounced b. The bet at the end is pronounced v. Or we could say this is a bet and this is a vet, ba, negev. So that letter changes with a dagesh. Nun doesn't. Ba negev. That's it. Toda. Thank you for joining me for lesson 2 of Summer Hebrew, or whatever season you happen to be in. Please join me for lesson 3 and remember to like and subscribe.